me the money. Or in the case of baseball players, they really don't have to say that. It gets shown to them. And once it is, they really like to make good on how it came and how much was shown. And so we've got examples of that as we get you started on the DLLS Rangers Podcast. So is that the position that was most improved on the Rangers? Jock Pederson tried to say, yes, it is. Yesterday, with an opposite field home run in a spring training game, the Rangers with a big win yesterday over the White Sox. We don't have to spend a lot of time on that because it was the White Sox. 11-3 was the final. This is the DLLS Rangers Podcast. John Radigan here, Jeff Wilson there. The prophet Elijah Smith is over there, and we love having you with us as well. Chat with us, like us, subscribe to us, hang with us. We're here at noon every day this week. Next week, things get a little wonky because of spring training and Jeff heading back that way for the better part of a week. So we'll keep you posted on that. In the meantime, let us start with the long grind, Jeff, that is really underway, right? Once they start playing spring training games, we always talk about how a baseball team plays 162 games basically in 180 days, right?
Yeah.
It's 162 games in a 6-month period. They say it's 162 in 180, which essentially means during the season you get about 18 days off. But you don't really get that many days off. Some of those days are devoted to travel. Others of those days would be certainly devoted to rehab or things like that. So it is a grind. And, oh, by the way, we haven't factored in the fact that they play, 25 or 30 spring training games. So in a 30-day period. So there is just a lot of baseball, and the grind has just begun.
Yeah, and that's why you don't see guys playing very much this time of year. Position players may get an at-bat or, 2 or 3 at-bats, let's say, and then, that might be enough, and you don't see them play back-to-back very often, though a couple guys are doing it today. It's just kind of a slow build-up because the 162 means so much, and coming off of a lot of inactivity and, even like getting used to cleats is a big deal. You're running in spikes. That's always a big deal. There's always soreness the first day you're in spikes, and just things like that you have to adjust to. And the last couple CBAs have helped expand that 180. It's up to 187 now, and it's still not a lot, John.
No.
And the Rangers try to get guys their full day off, because if they have to travel and they have an off day the next day, they travel the night after the game, so that they get to their location and they have a full off day in the city, rather than having to get up and catch a flight and fly and all that stuff the day before a game. So little things that they try to do when they can do it. And Mike Maddox has always been big on honoring the off day, meaning for the pitchers, don't mess with the rotation. Let everybody get the rest. Now there are times where you kind of have to do it, like late in the season. If you're in the hunt, and you want certain guys to face certain teams, well, you might shuffle the order a little bit. But guys usually get that full day off, and it benefits everybody, obviously. And I think that this year, and then, within the 26 guys, you have guys who you want to monitor beyond that. So like Jacob deGrom this year will get multiple days off, and it'll just be an interesting time. But you're right. It's so long. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. And there are times when, it's 15-2 and the Rangers are ahead or behind in the 6th inning. And guys, the regulars are on the bench. So, any chance you can get to rest these guys, it's a pretty big deal. And unfortunately, I heard these words from Bruce Bochy last season, and it really bothered me. Workload management. The words I don't care for. The NBA situation, it's trickled into other sports, and boy, I don't like that word, or those two words. But it's a thing, and getting guys to the finish line, especially if you have aspirations of playing in October and making a deep playoff run, need to have everybody as fresh as possible.
No doubt about it. And that's the key. We say that 162 now and 187 or whatever it might be. Then add playoff series. You hopefully have a couple of them. You hopefully, I guess, would minimum, if you win your division, you'd have 3. If you win your division and win the World Series.
Correct.
You'd have 3. Now, if you did it the route that the Rangers took in 23, you have 4, right? You have to win that first series.
Yeah.
And then you get to the divisional round, and then you get to the league round, and then you get to the World Series. So it's a lot of baseball, and you can't even imagine the grind that it is until you experience it, even as a writer or a broadcaster, as we have done before. I mean, it really can, especially in the playoffs when you're traveling every few days. They can really grind on you. So it's a process that they're going through. When we're talking about the schedule here, we're going to break some of the things down, some of the really cool home series, some of the really cool road series. But first, sort of breaking news, if you will, is that Fox has announced its schedule of games, and the Rangers have 5 national games, Saturday games of the week, scheduled throughout the season. Now, that means 5 that won't be on your Rangers Sports Network. These are nationally exclusive games. However, you'll be able to watch them locally because they're going to be on nationally. Every TV in America will be able to watch them.
Yeah, and it kind of shouldn't be a surprise if you look at the national projections and everything about the Rangers being a good team and being a contender, and the game of the week should be teams that are really, really good.
Yes.
And, that's the expectation for the Rangers. So, and they start early, too. 2 in April against the Dodgers. The first against the Dodgers, then the Giants. 2 in June. The FS1 game, there will be 2 other games that will be picked up by FS1. And that the one of that's being picked up is June 28th. That's supposed to be the Elvis Andrus Hall of Fame induction. And those things usually take place at night. So I wonder if...
Now, good question.
I wonder if that will change.
That could change because it is an indoor facility now. And I believe that at least when we were with Bally, the FS1 games were side by side. So they weren't national exclusives. Okay. You could see them, but I don't know if that has changed. I haven't looked into that. So
anyway,
we'll find that out.
So there's 5 national exclusives, 2.
And then, actually 6 for sure right now because you've got the July 6th ESPN
Well, and there's 2 Roku games.
That's right, and the 2 Roku games.
And there could be some more coming. The Rangers in their release today cautioned that a few other national things like the Apple schedule will be
and what did Jim Cochran tell us? That used to be the rule was 12. I think he said 17 now. So they could, 17 games could be, sort of taken away from the Rangers Sports Network and given to the national networks. And again, it's a trade the Rangers would make every time because what it means is the team's good, damn it.
That's right.
People want to watch it. And the networks feel like people around America want to watch it. So
I don't think the White Sox are getting picked up, for instance.
They may have none. Yeah.
The Rangers, though, you want to be the national game of the week, and it is a big deal. I mean, it can kind of be a pain in the butt. You don't want to be the only team playing on a Sunday night, for instance. Right. But whatever.
Heck, it used to be the Rangers played every home Sunday night.
Oh yeah,
and then there was another one that was on nationally. So anybody in the Rangers organization, well, not these kids, but anybody that's been there a while is very accustomed to that. So that's a reality. Now, here's the weird part about it. And when you get into September, obviously there is less national baseball anyway, because the NFL does take over to a certain extent, and so does college football. But and this is a thing about the schedule that I hate. And I basically love the fact that the Rangers play every team every year, either home or away. I love that. They just changed that a few years ago. And they got rid of the 19 games against your division opponents. I love that. But here's where it gets crazy, because at the same time that all happened, somehow Major League Baseball took away from us the drama and the excitement of teams from the same division playing at the end of the season. So if you take a look at the Rangers' schedule this year in September, they have 3 games against the divisional team.
That's crazy.
In the month.
That's nuts.
There are 3 games in Houston. So in September this year, the Rangers play Miami, Minnesota. I think this is the last 3 of the season. Miami, Minnesota, and at Cleveland.
Yeah.
That's the last 3 series of the year. That is ridiculous. Now, Cleveland's probably going to be good. Minnesota might be good.
Yeah.
So there could be some competitive baseball and potentially some playoff previews in those couple of series. I don't care. They should be playing the Astros. They should be playing the Mariners and the Athletics and the Angels, because if any of those teams are good, especially, and we figure at least the Astros will be, and that's so great. The drama is so awesome then.
Yeah, it takes away the opportunity to make up ground if you're in a position to make up ground.
Yeah, that's like 2 games.
Yeah, it's like, hey, I'm sure the Rangers would have loved to have played the Astros in the last series in 23. Now they played the Mariners, but the Astros played the Diamondbacks.
Right.
And so, it's like, geez, what's what gives here? And I agree. I mean, you try to win the division every year. That's the goal. And then they take the opportunity for you to best pad your lead or make up ground to do that. And it is a crazy when the schedule came out, I remember looking at it and being like, you got to be kidding me. This is terrible.
Yeah.
I'll be in Cleveland. I always go to the last road series. That's something we do. And then, it can complicate things, because you remember 23, the Rangers were in Seattle. They thought they were going to the playoffs. They didn't know where they were going to go, though. So they had to pack for all kinds of stuff. And they weren't home for about 10, 12 days.
14 days, I think.
It was a huge
because there was a series before the Seattle, Anaheim.
It was Angels.
Yeah.
So it was 7 games on the road. Then they went to 2, and it was a 3-game series, and they won that.
And then they went to Baltimore. Yeah.
So it was a crazy time, and you got to pack a lot of different clothes too. It's not like it's summertime.
Yeah.
You went from Seattle, cold, Tampa, indoors but very warm.
Yeah.
And then Baltimore, which was probably seasonable in October, but not. You wanted at least pants and a jacket.
Right, just in case.
Yeah.
It's chilly at night, as they say. So that's an interesting part of the schedule. I sat down and looked at it today, and I want to show you quickly some series that you don't want to miss at home first, because you don't get these teams every year. At most, you'll get teams like most of these every other year. So there's the ones that you really don't. And I put the Yankees on there. They will play here every year. Those other teams, however, will not. Obviously, the Dodgers are really good. They're here almost right out of the gate.
Yeah.
April 17th through the 20th. The nice thing about that one is it's a 4-game series. So you get 4 opportunities to catch them. And then, you saw the Yankees one on there is in June. The Atlanta one. Atlanta's going to be a good team. That's in July. And I'm sorry, Yankees are in August, that was. And then Philly. The Phillies are going to be a good team, and they come later. In fact, right on the heels of that Yankees series are the Phillies. So those are ones you want to identify right now and try and get yourself some single season tickets for if you don't have a package. As for the road, there's certain places you have to go. San Francisco's one of them. Not just because it's Bruce Bochy's former home, but when you go back there with him, It's really cool. So it's early. It's April.
It's
Such a great ballpark.
Great little ballpark.
The city's not as great as it once was, but the ballpark is worth going to. Right on the water there. If you haven't been, it's really one of my favorites. If it weren't for the city going into the toilet,
I
think it still would be my favorite
humans
stop.
for that matter.
Yeah. Boston, you got to see Fenway if you haven't. Plus, they're going to be a good team.
Right.
Yankees again. They play the Mets too. You'd have 2 trips. I didn't put the Mets on there. Citi Field's not that big a deal, but Yankee Stadium is. And Pittsburgh is not going to be a good team, we don't think. You got to see that ballpark.
Fantastic.
Got to see that.
Best view in baseball.
That ballpark is unbelievable.
Yeah.
And then in September, there it is. One of the teams they do play in September is the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Diamondbacks and the Rangers, as you know, played in the World Series a couple of years ago. And Diamondbacks are going to be good. It's a toss-up right now in all of Major League Baseball who has the best pitching staff. The Diamondbacks or the Dodgers as far as rotation goes. Anyway, so
pretty good stuff with them, Corbin Burns.
Yeah. So
Zach
anyway,
Allen.
just some thoughts about the schedule we wanted to alert you to because it's that time of year where you got to start looking for things like that and planning trips. And I was actually planning one myself yesterday. So it's what got me thinking about it. So anyway, I hope you'll have a chance to do so too. We've got lots more coming up though. We take a look at today's game, which is coming up in a couple of hours in Arizona for the Rangers. We also take a look back at one of the heroes of yesterday's game next on the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
John landed Friday night from Arizona, and by Saturday morning, I had picked some games.
How much you up by now? You must be up a couple thousand.
Well, I didn't win over the weekend, but I am up since we launched this bad boy. So having fun. I let my daughter pick some. That didn't go real well, but that's all right. She's 10, and I don't think she's ever watched an NBA game in her life. But by God, she was ready to make some picks here. On the Sleeper app, use the code DLLS, and you get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. It's daily picks, and if you've done it before elsewhere, great. But Sleeper really wants you to join their platform. It's fun, it's easy, it's crystal clear, and simple to do. You got to pick at least 2. I usually go for 4. Really, 4's dicey, and that's why when you're in Las Vegas and you have 14 parlays, the odds are so much higher on that. It's hard to get 4, but anyway, download the Sleeper code, use the code DLS. You can get up to a $100 match on your first deposit.
Yeah, and we encourage you to take not even all of that match, honestly.
Yeah,
and buy yourself a neon sign. You can do that through Saturday Neon. They're $75. It's a great deal. They're associated, as we've told you, with 50 different colleges and universities. They are working on more and more because the more universities they become affiliated with, the more fans they appeal to. So they're working on more. We are working on them getting a few more in there. And you can also have one custom made for yourself. Could say anything you want it to say. It's neon, or at least it looks like neon, but it's LED lighting in there. And I've got a few lights like that at the house, and they the greatest thing about them is, I swear to God, they never burn out. You won't have to worry about replacing them. They last forever. Use the code DLLS at Saturday Neon and get 10% off your neon sign. Okay, so let us move forward to the hero of yesterday's game. And I was loving it. It came across my feed not too long, I suppose, after we left here yesterday. But in the first inning, how many did the Rangers send to the plate? They scored 11 runs.
They scored 9 in the first.
9 in the first, that's right. And then 2 in the ninth. It's mine, sorry.
Got some music joining us. It's a nice little melody. Thought we'd hopped into an elevator.
Yeah.
They had a 9-run first, which is crazy in a spring training game. It was against the White Sox, but 9 runs in any inning's crazy. But got off to a great start and kept going, and hitting is contagious even in spring training, and so is bad pitching. But Jock Pederson with a little home run back in his old spring ballpark when he was with the Dodgers. They share it with the White Sox, and it's that signing was a big deal because, as you're about to point out, The Rangers were terrible at DH last year.
Yeah. And, we get to the improvement in that position in the next segment because we're going to look at the 9 players who are 9 teams that are most improved at various positions through acquisitions of the offseason. But Jock Pederson is that guy who, said, show me the money, and the Rangers did $32 million in a 2-year contract to have him come and improve that position for them. And I have to think it feels so good. And he went opposite way, which is always fun too. His first home run was Oppo. And it's got to just feel so good to, again, not that anybody's doubting yet, nor will they for a while, but just to say, there you go. That's what $32 million gets you. That's what $16 a year gets you. This is what I do. And I'm sure these guys know. I'm not sure. I know these guys are ultimately confident and completely believe that they're going to perform in a way that is commensurate with what they are paid in this day and age. However, still feels good. And it was fun to watch, and it was fun to see, Jock Pederson's. And it's been also fun to see Jock Pederson's sort of thoughts about where he might hit in the order. He doesn't care. And when he says it, like I bet if you went up to Corey Seager today and said, hey, you okay if you weren't hitting second? Corey Seager would say, I'll hit wherever they ask me to hit. I don't care where I hit in the lineup.
Yeah.
Corey Seager does not want to be out of that 2-hole. He doesn't, right? He wants to be there because that is where he's been. That's just a comfort factor. I think Jock Pederson, when he says those words, I don't care where he doesn't care.
Yeah.
He'd hit 9. Anywhere in that lineup. He is at a point in his career where he just wants to win.
I don't know that he cares about a whole hell of a lot. He just seems kind of aloof and not in a bad way. But yeah, he's going to be in the middle of the lineup.
He is.
Just get a good left-handed bat in there, driving some runs. Really, theoretically, the Rangers could go right, left, right. Their first 5 guys. They could do Simeon.
Yep.
Then Seager.
Yep.
And then one of Garcia, Young, or Langford. Peters batting fourth, and then Garcia or Langford.
One of the other guys
Young.
that's left over.
So there's a way to do it. And if Josh Smith is in the lineup that day, he could bat 6th. He could bat down at the bottom. Evan Carter is probably likely going to be toward the bottom of the lineup, though he was kind of up in the middle of it. He's up in the middle of it today. But the point is, it's going to be a deep lineup. We haven't even mentioned Jake Burger.
I was just going to say, Jake Burger Burger could be 6 or 7.
Yeah, and then you could throw in a switch hitting catcher. So you could really make it hard on an opposing manager with the right left alternating. You could do it throughout the lineup. So it's going to be interesting to see how that construction comes together. If you want to go back to Jeff Bannister, he used to like to do it in thirds, because you get 3 outs, and you always wanted a guy who could get on base leading off an inning, and so you would look at his 4 and 7 hitters, and those are always the interesting ones. After, of course, the leadoff guy. Just a lot of ways to do it, but I figure I'm having a feeling Bruce Bochy is going to have fun with the lineup every day this year and be able to do what he needs to do based on matchups and everything, but also. He's a big believer in lineup continuity.
Yes,
and letting guys when they show up to the ballpark, they know where they're going to be, and that was another thing that ultimately rubbed some guys wrong with Jeff Bannister. Is Jeff Bannister would just move you around, and some of those guys that got moved around didn't really care for that. There is a belief in being comfortable and maybe it changes how you're pitched to if you're batting 5th one day and then 9th. Or 3rd and then 8th. It could affect how you're getting pitched to. Our good buddy Kevin Gray, where would you rank the Rangers lineup among the best in baseball? It's definitely top 10.
Oh yeah.
If you had to look a little deeper, probably top a little higher than that. Top 7.
It might be able to sneak into the 5. I mean. If you're thinking about it, the Dodgers obviously have a better lineup.
Dodgers do.
Yankees
Yankees probably though
do.
they have some things that
There's
gotta
a hole
be cleaned
there, at
up.
least one. Yeah,
I would say the Red Sox lineup is
pretty stout.
pretty dadgum good. Padres have a good lineup.
Yeah.
So they're but the Rangers are
Yeah,
right there. It's probably one of the best in the American League. We can I think we're
for
comfortable
sure.
saying that.
For sure.
Yeah. So
All right.
anywho, thanks Kevin for the question. Uncle Ted's been flooding us with comments and all superlatives from Uncle Ted.
Awesome. We appreciate that. Let's take a look at today's lineup because Jeff mentioned, and by the way, the guy we've been talking about, Jock Pederson, not in said lineup today, but they're ready to play today with that lineup right there against who else? The Kansas City Royals. And it's very familiar at the top there where you've got Simeon and Seager and Garcia in the 4-hole. I actually think Adolis is going to end up there this year.
Could be.
And but we'll see. I mean, he's got to do it in spring training. And then you see there's Leote in the lineup down there and today playing right field because Adolis is the designated hitter and Sam Haggerty getting a little love with Kumar Rocker on the mound. We've got Kumar Rocker followed by Winston Santos, followed by Emiliano. I always say that. Emiliano Teodo. That's your top 3 pitchers today.
Yeah, that's a lot of young power arms there. Teodo's the one to watch. I think Santos hit some speed bumps there at Double-A last year, whereas Teodo breezed through. Of course you want to watch Rocker, but on the prospect side of things, the young Rocker's still a prospect technically.
Yeah.
So
number 1.
Anyway, we're gonna go with guys who haven't pitched in the majors. How about that? All right, I would watch Teodo first, and then go with Santos. I think Santos is not a threat not a threat. May not be on the Major League roster this year, but he's on that 40-man. 40-man's a big deal.
It is, and it's definitely something that the Rangers are so cognizant of and so focused on right now, which is developing that pitching. And really, now that we've lost Alejandro Rosario for a season or two, those 3 might be the top 3 pitching prospects. There's a few others you could throw in the mix, but when you're talking about Rocker and Santos and Teodo, those certainly are 3 of the top, with Rocker being the top.
Yeah, and so you're gonna have to, the Rosario injury. He probably wasn't one of the top 5 guys on the depth chart, if you will, because he didn't pitch above A-ball last year. So you're kind of looking at if let's say Rocker and Leiter don't make the rotation or don't make the roster. Okay, so you have Rocker, Leiter in the rotation. Yeah. Then you'll have Teodo, I'm assuming, at AAA. You'll have Dane Acker, who's in big league camp. Ryan Garcia, who pitched really well last year at Round Rock. So there's 5 guys, and then always sprinkle in a veteran and some of these guys who are in camp on minor league deals. So it's gonna go pretty deep. But then Dane Dunning, if he makes the big league roster, you would probably consider him the first line of defense. You could find a guy to move into the swing role. That's just me. But anyway, where would you rank this pitching staff? Well, it all hinges on DeGrom. If DeGrom is healthy, the Rangers are going to have a fantastic starting rotation.
Yeah, I saw somebody on MLB Network I was watching yesterday. I don't remember who spouted it, but basically said if DeGrom does make, they said 20 to 25 starts, which is kind of the realistic realm for us. Yeah. That's what we think. That's where we think he'll somehow or hopefully land, actually. And they said if he does, the Rangers win the West. And I basically agree with that, right? If you're getting 20, even 20, but certainly 25 starts out of DeGrom, that means he's pretty much healthy all season long. And that means, man, the top of that rotation, if he's healthy, come on.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and because Evaldi's a heck of a player.
Right.
very good pitcher. It has the potential at some point this year to have a really, really potentially dominant Kumar Rocker in it.
Yeah. John Gray threw a no-hitter yesterday.
John Gray.
For 2
solid.
innings.
Tyler Malley. Solid, though we haven't seen a lot of it. So it's pretty deep, and it's I would say 3 power guys at the top, then Bradford and Malley, or Rocker and Malley, or Leiter and Malley. It's going to be a pretty good rotation, I think. Yeah.
It's really going to be fun to watch. That's a lot of what we are watching throughout the course of this spring. Again, not too closely yet. You can't make too much out of any of these things. Even John Gray's spectacular no-hitter yesterday. You really can't make anything out of that. It was 2 innings of work. He's just getting his work in. But that said, it'll be a really interesting aspect of spring training since there aren't that many position battles that are happening at this point yet. All right, let's get to those most improved positions next on the show. It's not just Rangers, it's other teams too. Who has the most improvement in what area next on the DLLS Rangers podcast? Now, though, we talk about the greatness of Rugged Road. And these coolers are spectacular, and this day, by the way, is spectacular. If you already have a Rugged Road cooler, I encourage you to load it up, take it out, spend the afternoon at a park or at the pickleball courts or fishing. It floats. If you take it fishing, you better get the hip waders if you're going to get in the water and float it with you. But that would be sort of double cool. That water's cold yet, but that would be double cool on the drinks that are inside there. So it's a great cooler. It's well made. It's well designed. It's good looking, and they wear very well. So we encourage you to go to ruggedroad.com. If you do that and use the code DLLS, you're going to get 10% off your Rugged Road cooler. Go to ruggedroad.com and use the code DLLS.
I am very excited, John, to tell you about Game Time because I butchered it yesterday. The Game Time app, as everybody knows, or if you don't know, you need to know, is really the best place to get your tickets on the secondary market. You just go to the app, you look at those graphics, you look at the prices, and again, I say it all the time, the best feature is the all-in pricing. That's the price you see, and there's no hidden fees, no surprises when you hit the checkout button. You also can see your seat view, which is fantastic because that way you don't wind up next to a post. Can't guarantee you who you're going to be sitting next to, but you can at least guarantee that your view is going to be good. So it's pretty simple. You download the Game Time app. Use the code DLLS to get $20 off your first purchase. Ball games, concerts, theater, you name it, Game Time has it.
Yes, and I've used it myself. It's a great product, and you need to do it as well. So there are 9 teams, according to MLB.com, that have made the biggest position upgrades through acquisition in the offseason. And the first team on the list of the MLB.com list is your Texas Rangers, with Jock Pederson at the designated hitter position, of course. And as Jeff mentioned, the Rangers' designated hitter has been terrible. Last year, it was a minus 2.7 WAR. Minus 2.7 for a DH last year.
Yeah, that just tells you, obviously they don't play in the field, so they were not only could they not hit, they weren't very fast.
They weren't. They
couldn't do really anything. They were last.
Had only 15 home runs last year from the designated position hitter position. The only team that had less was the abysmal Angels, who had 11.
Yeah.
So it was just a black hole in the batting order.
Yeah, I mean the Rangers were by WAR the worst team in the American League at DH. The only team worse than them was the Cincinnati Reds.
Yeah.
So here comes Jock Pederson. He hits the fastball, which was also a Rangers' weakness. He's going to hit right-handed pitching, which is a Rangers' weakness. So, and the Rangers didn't have like a true DH last year. because they like to rotate guys through it.
Sure.
I know Wyatt Langford was early on as they got him acclimated to outfield play, but he's now a left fielder. So Jock is definitely going to be an upgrade there. Just again, it was just terrible. Every team has a weak spot in their lineup at some point. A lot of times it's catcher, where you're not producing, but first base. The Rangers also weren't incredibly productive at first base last year with Nathaniel Lowe, and that's a position where you have to hit home runs. I mean, that's all there is to it. And Nate knew that. He knew that, and he knew he had to hit for more power, or else he might be somewhere else, and he is somewhere else. So enter Jake Berger, who in his 2 full seasons has averaged 31 home runs a season. He hits the fastball too. Now, I've always been told that the standard for a right-handed hitting first baseman is higher. You've got to hit for more power. Okay, whatever. Home runs are home runs, and I don't care what side of the plate you hit from, as long as you're hitting the ball out of the ballpark. So, looking forward to that. That could be a potential upgrade, and then guys just have to get better. They just have to improve. Adolis Garcia has to improve. Evan Carter needs to be healthy, and if he's not, Leody Taveras needs to be better.
Or Kevin Pillar.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. And then Josh Young, stay healthy there. Josh Smith had a great year, but he's never going to beat Josh Young in a home run competition. So lots of ways to get better for the Rangers lineup, but DH, that's a pretty glaring one. Yeah,
interestingly, I'm going to skip around on this list to tell you who is the next team we'll talk about on the list. This is a team that improved remarkably at first base. The Nationals.
Well, I mean, their first baseman last year were garbage.
Yeah, exactly.
Including, unfortunately, our buddy Joey Gallo.
Yeah. And now they get Nathaniel Lowe. And look, again, we all love Nathaniel Lowe, like I think most of you did. So good for him. I hope he is, gets the success that he wants and has there. And it's got to feel pretty good to him to know that, he's considered a bit of a savior.
Yeah.
With the National. Now, again, that's not a very good team right now.
Yeah. But he's also going to be a clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
He's going to be a guy that the media goes to a lot after games as this team tries to get back. They won it hasn't been that long since the Nationals won the World Series.
No, it really hasn't.
2019. And they have some good young players. You remember last year at the end of the year, C.J. Abrams apparently the night before went out to a bar and then just went to the ballpark, and they weren't having that. They sent him down. So some guys still learning how to be professionals and stuff like that. Well, Nathaniel Lowe won a World Series. Nathaniel Lowe not that long ago was in a position of a lot of these guys. And when his first season was the Rangers was 21 when they were just atrocious.
Yep.
But he was thought of as a piece who could be part of the future, be part of a World Series team, and lo and behold, he sure was. But it's a talented team and potentially talented team with young talent. Dylan Cruz, who was the second overall pick in 23, behind Skeens, ahead of Max Clark, who was ahead of Wyatt Langford. A pretty top-heavy draft there. So there's talent. It has to learn how to play, and Nathaniel Lowe is going to help with that.
No doubt about it. Nathaniel Lowe, of course, mature, even more mature now. He got married in the offseason, but again, his upbringing, he's raised by a dad who is a fighter pilot, right? His dad was basically Top Gun. So he was raised, Nathaniel Lowe, and we know his mom, Wendy, too, and is still battling cancer, but anyway, he was raised right, so he will fly right, if you'll pardon the pun on that deal. So another one on the list. First on that whole list is starting pitching, the Dodgers. And MLB concluded even if the Dodgers had not signed Sasaki and Snell, they still would have been first on the list just for the guys they're getting back into the rotation.
True, that Tyler Glasgow can be nasty.
Yeah,
big velocity. Clayton Kershaw probably still has something whenever he's ready. And then you're not even talking about Dustin May and
Tony Gosselin, Shohei.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Shohei. How can you forget him? He's probably at the top of the list, but won't be back until May at some point. But Dustin May, who went to Northwest High School, and Justin just north of Fort Worth, and right next to the Motor Speedway up there, off of 114, and went through that weird deal last year with his throat or his esophagus, and life was kind of at
risk.
And he's that's got to change your perspective on a lot of things.
100%.
Like how grateful he would be to be there. And I think he mentioned that after his outing the other day. The big orange afro. I don't know if he still has it or not, but anyway, a fun story to watch there. But where does he fit? It's
right.
Like, gosh, is he going to be? Where's he going to be? So anyway, a lot of great arms that the Dodgers have assembled.
Yeah, the Rangers think they have a lot of candidates, and they do, to be starting pitchers. But man, and what it speaks to as well is just how amazing it is that all those guys were hurt last year during the World Series, and the Dodgers actually had to go with during the playoffs, had to go with a couple of different bullpen days in playoff games and in a World Series game.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that kind of speaks to the game these days, and I couldn't imagine Sparky Anderson ever doing that.
No, God, no.
Send out old Willie Hernandez for for a start or something back there of the Tigers in the 80s. I don't know, but that's just the way it is, and it was well managed, but that's why you have to have depth. And
that's it.
Yeah. And that's why I think Chris Young has built the roster the way he has, with a bunch of guys who are, able to step right in. If somebody gets hurt, boom, Dustin May's at AAA.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, holy crap, we got a really good young pitcher coming up to replace Sasaki. Something like that.
Whoever. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to be a doom and gloom, but Sasaki's going to get hurt this year, I think.
Oh yeah,
and he won't be pitching a full slate of starts, in my opinion. But anyway. Depth, important. Dodgers, good for them.
Yeah, and we're still rooting against Sasaki. Sorry. Okay, so anyway, then I like this one too. We're not going to get to all of them, but you can find the list. But I like this one. The at second base, the team that has improved dramatically at second base.
I don't know.
Boston Red Sox.
Well,
and there again, the MLB is assuming, and I'm not sure this is a safe assumption. MLB is assuming that Alex Bregman is going to play second base. And I still think, I thought Joey Cora bristled at Devers' comments, and I don't know that his teammates have been too happy about it. And I will say that Bregman has taken the high road. But like you mentioned yesterday, Rafael Devers is a butcher, and Alex Bregman is very smooth over there at third base. I think you're going to have him at third base.
He's a Gold Glove winner.
Yeah,
Bregman is,
and a former shortstop.
Right. Yeah, Devers. That's that move's got to be made, and whether it's moving him to first but Tristan Casas isn't a bad first baseman for the Red Sox. So I don't know. Joey Cora will figure it out, or Alex will.
That's right.
Maybe he'll call Joey.
Well, he'll call his brother.
Yeah.
All those Coras. So anyway, the improvement is such a huge part of this thing, and as we began to chronicle a little bit with the Rangers, it wasn't just at the designated hitter position that the Rangers did improve over the offseason. That was just the one that MLB identified as an area of so much improvement that it was first on their list of teams that improved at a certain position. Part of that, of course, has to do with how bad the Rangers had been previously. And maybe, Jeff, it speaks to that the idea and the hope that you can put a number of different guys in there at the designated hitter position. You can use others than just Jock Pederson, but maybe to have a rotation isn't the best idea.
Yeah, and guys will tell you that DHing isn't easy.
No, it's hard.
If you're a regular position player and all of a sudden you're in there DHing and not in your usual flow of the game, it can be a little bit of a distraction, or you got to find ways to stay sharp, whether it's hitting when the team's on the field or just really really dialing into the game. It's not easy, and the Rangers asked Wyatt Langford to do it last year, and maybe he was too young to know any better. But you've seen a lot of really good guys who were position players, and they're like, well, their team's like, we need you to DH, and it just doesn't work. So, yes, it's great to have give these guys a day off their feet, have their bats going and still in the lineup. But sometimes you may be looking at an offer from that guy.
Yeah, and we've heard many stories of guys who will go, back in the day, the Rangers had that little hill behind the dugout, and they'll just go in there and run. They'll do anything they can to stay active during the half inning when they would be in the field, because it's hard to stay engaged when you're the designated hitter and basically given half of an inning off. You're just not used to that as a baseball player. So anyway, more coming up. It's the cleanup segment. We've got an old dog still learning new tricks next on the DLLS Rangers podcast. I'm really sporting the colors today with the DLLS Skyline, and I officially ordered, and they've already shipped, Jeff, the Leprechaun one.
Oh, already shipped.
The skipper told me that with these, there's the one shirt that has I think it's a shamrock with horns on it. They have to print that one. These others, though, all the St. Patty's Day shirts are printed. So just order one of them, man, and wear it around. And, for the St. Patrick's Day parade, an absolute tradition and an iconic event in the Dallas area. Man, go to that wearing your DLLS shirt. We sure would love that. I may haul off and show up at that thing in my DLLS shirt with the drunk leprechaun on it right there. You can also get any of these, too, and they're all great, and they're all relatively inexpensive for what you get because the quality of these is so good, and I love the designs and everything. Most of them just really pop, which is cool, and we're doing more designs. So go to store.allcitynetwork.com and get yourself some of our merchandise today.
I'm wearing the red shirt underneath my sweatshirt today.
Okay,
so
good.
Anyway, and when you become a diehard, you get a free T-shirt. And right now, you look at that spring training offer, $48 for 12 months. That's, as you know, $4 a month. You subtract the $35 for the T-shirt, that's $13. It's like $1.08
a month to get all this great content. It's
beautiful, and we are very, 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 very happy with our product, whether it be Cowboys, Mavs, Stars, or what we do with the Rangers. It's top-notch stuff. It's hard to beat in the Metroplex. And when you throw in what we do in our podcast side, which are free, but nevertheless, it's stuff you want to read. So and you need to be a diehard to do it. So again, alldls.com and join today.
Yeah, it's time to clean things up because we are running out of time on this edition of the DLLS Rangers podcast. And so let's begin with that old dog, learning new tricks. Justin Verlander, through his first, Cactus League game ever yesterday. 42-year-old man. He just turned 42, and he is still learning. And I saw a headline online after his outing yesterday, and I think that whoever the young reporter was, or the young editor, or whoever wrote the headline, mistook his sarcasm. I imagine the first question went something like this: "How'd you feel out there?" And he said, "Oh, man, I'm not even going to sleep tonight." And he was being sarcastic, right?
Yeah.
It's a spring training game. But that was the headline, sleepless night for Justin Verlander. I'm like,
you got to get those clicks, baby.
I don't think so. And then, yeah, you're right. Maybe it was just trying to be super salacious, right?
That's right.
So, and he's got Kate Upton for a wife. Oof. Maybe people were thinking of other things.
That's pretty salacious.
Yeah, that is. But the reality is, here's where he is learning, because it was his first game in spring training. And he's gone into the Giants camp, and he has been just a mentor. I don't know if it's on the level of a Nathan Eovaldi, but he has taken all these young pitchers in the Giants organization under his wing. He's been a mentor, which is great, and it's wonderful, and I love to hear it. But since he'd never pitched in Arizona, he was remarking after the game, all the young pitchers, everybody was telling me, oh, don't worry. The shape of your ball it's nothing like what you expect in this dry air. And, oh, by the way, they might hit what you think is a pop-up, and it'll get out of here.
That's the truth.
He noticed both things were true
Yeah.
in yesterday's game. I mean, he gave up one home run, and he's like, I just thought it was a fly ball out, and it got out of there.
Yeah, and he's right. I mean, it probably was a fly ball out. The air is thin, and you get the ball in the air, and it's going to carry. That's just the way it is. And, yeah, the breaking balls don't quite break like they will in the regular season. While we've been sitting here, Max Scherzer made his Cactus League debut.
Oh, did he start? Yeah, good. Yeah.
4 strikeouts in 2 innings for Max. So we'll see how he feels tomorrow. I think that's the big question with Max. Again, a good guy, and you root for him, but it just wasn't going to work out, and it's a risk the Rangers didn't want to take. Great. So yeah, there are some older fellas out there, and those two compete. They compete with each other, and you look at the career strikeout lists; they're 10 and 11, or 9 and 10. They're neck and neck, and I know that there's something going on there. They look at each other's box scores. I'm sure.
No doubt. And I think Scherzer wants to make sure he plays as long as what Verlander does. That's one of the goals, I think, in his mind. And again, Verlander's got a year ahead of him, so he's got to go a year longer than what Verlander does. So,
well, Max is in great shape as long as his arm is fine. I wouldn't be surprised if he kept going.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
Well, same with Verlander. His arm is still great too.
Yeah, good point. Now, speaking of older guys, I don't know that we've had a chance to mention this on the show, but Andrew Heaney signing for what he signed, which was 5.2, I think.
Yeah,
I was a little surprised. I was like, dang, I might have gotten in that, sweepstakes.
Well, he was coming off. What do you mean? 12.5 his first year at the Rangers and 13 last season.
Yeah.
So he's definitely taking a pay cut coming off of a pretty good year.
Really good year.
Where he was durable and he posted every time.
Numbers weren't great.
The numbers got skewed at the end because he gave up a bunch of runs in his last start, but it's a guy who was pretty darn steady for the Rangers. I was surprised. Well, I'll be honest. I was surprised when the Rangers signed him for what they signed him for.
Yeah, true.
And then I was surprised that the Pirates signed him for what they signed him for. But a good guy, a true professional, and I think that he will be a good addition to that rotation.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. At some point, you kind of go, "Oh, it was nice making $13 million, but where the hell else am I going to make $5 million?"
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I'll take that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not going to do a digging ditches,
putting roofs on, or or even selling real estate. I mean, it's possible to make that in real estate, obviously, but not your first year.
Yeah,
not when you just get out of baseball and just try to hang a real estate shingle. So anyway, yeah. Okay, I don't know, Prophet. Do we have the picture of Bryce Harper's tattoo? Okay, cool. Let's show this. Bryce Harper loves Philadelphia. Look at Bryce Harper's tattoo. He has the Philly Fanatic on his little four-wheeler, whatever those things are called, tattooed on his arm, just to ingratiate himself even further with that Philadelphia community. I think that's the tattoo artist who drew it right there. And I loved it. The Fanatic has already put a picture of Bryce Harper on its arm. So it's got its own tattoo.
My first thought was, I hope Bryce Harper has a no-trade clause.
Right?
That's gonna be a tough one to get rid of if not. But yeah, he even when he was with the the Nationals, he really seemed to ingratiate himself there. So this is pretty cool, and it was a long-term contract. This is a guy who was a right fielder, and now he's a first baseman. For all the early in his career, the pouting and
I was going to say,
the cockiness, he's really become kind of a shed that image and is a team player. Yeah. And wants to win and comes up in big moments and does great things for that club.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I thought, and again, I don't really have a perception of how the fans felt about him in Washington. His teammates didn't like him.
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was some rancor there. And again, you know what that's about? Growing up. That's about, he got there at such a young age. Yeah. And kids boys in particular, young men at that age, Man, I tell you what, if they'd given me millions of dollars to do what I do at that age, I'd have been insufferable, right? I'd have had no humility, a la Bryce Harper, right? You just feel like you're invincible as a human being anyway, even if you're making $15,000 a year like I was at that age,
Well, he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, in high school.
Exactly.
So, and some of his run-ins, he had a run-in with Jonathan Papelbon, who I don't think has ever been recognized as the world's best teammate.
Best dude, yeah.
And Harper was young, but he was a big star, and he probably felt like he could be a leader at that time, and it ended up getting ugly. But I would take him on my team.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
no doubt. He's my son's favorite player, interestingly, from back in the Nationals days, and I think we were locked in on that World Series and whatever it was.
19, yeah.
19.
Beat the Astros.
Yeah. So, and so we were rooting. That's why we were rooting against the. I don't know that we were rooting for the Nationals, but by God, we were rooting against the Astros. So cool though. I like that. Bryce Harper, just having fun. It's the Philly fanatic. I used to say that I was with our buddy Craig Ludwig, who does our Stars show here, and several other Stars players back in the spring of 1999, early summer, when I was just out at the facility out there, and that's when they only had the one in Valley Ranch, and they said, yeah, we're all going to get tattoos.
Oh, my.
And they all went and they got tattoos on their ankles of the Stanley Cup. And it was great. They let us shoot it. We did a whole feature on it. And then they wanted me to stay out there. Channel 5 at the time wanted me to stay out there and do a live shot. And even the guys were asking me, would you ever get a tattoo? And I go, well, if I won a Stanley Cup or something like that they could never take away from me,
right?
Hell yes, I'd get a tattoo in a heartbeat. And so then for the purposes of my show on NBC5, I had them do the henna drawing that looks like the tattoo, but it wasn't. And I had them put NBC, or maybe the Olympic rings, I think it was NBC, on my arm. And so I revealed it at the end of my live shot, right? Meantime, I was negotiating with Fox. So I was not going to keep the NBA, or rather the NBC tattoo, right? So, but I'd get one for one of those type things that they can't take away from you.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
The other risky one is the tattooed wedding ring.
Right.
That's a risky one.
Yeah.
I mean, not in our case, obviously, John, but in the case of
some guys,
50% of Americans,
yes,
or whatever
I hear a lot of that going around. Quick sad news: Larry Dolan, the owner of the Guardians, has died. He owned the club for 25 years, and they were great under the former owner, Jacobs. They named the field after him initially, but then Larry Dolan, everything in the games has taken such a huge turn to the positive financially. He buys the team for significantly more money than obviously Mr. Jacobs did. But Larry Dolan was known as a real philanthropist and lived in Cleveland his entire life. He was great for the city and really great for the organization.
Yeah, you like to see these owners who are in it for the long haul. And honestly, this is the 15th year with Ray Davis and Bob Simpson and them. That was 15 years ago when the club was in bankruptcy and got purchased. So, I think, Bill DeWitt there in St. Louis has been around a long, long time. They're not in it to turn a profit, although they're going to make a pile of money when they do
profit. Yeah.
Sell it, or if their family inherits it, as I'm guessing the little Dolans will do. But it does create some uncertainty.
Yeah.
What's going on in Minnesota right now? They thought they had a buyer and they didn't, and the Lerners in Washington D.C. and when Peter Angelos died in Baltimore not that long ago, they got a new owner. So there is some uncertainty when things hit when an owner passes away, and there's some thought like, gosh, who's going to be the steward of this franchise? How's it going to change? You're seeing in San Diego the deal too. So there's a lot of uncertainty that can come out of this. And whenever Ray Davis's time is up as Rangers owner, who's going to take over? How is the team going to be sold? What will happen at that point? And then, who are you going to get? You're going to get a family from Las Vegas who's going to trade the superstar player, or are you going to get somebody who has roots in the area and wants to be a Rangers owner and lead a good steward of the franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. We love you. It's the DLLS Rangers podcast. We're here every day at noon during the off season talking baseball with you. That was our soft close. And now we're back. Yeah.
All right.
Because I want to finish this thought. Right now, the big thing is that most of these teams are becoming corporate owned, not just in baseball.
Yeah.
But right in all major sports. And of course, our guys, our great Cowboys crew has talked about this, but other teams are selling interests, right? So the Commanders have sold a portion of their team. Would Jerry Jones sell a portion of the team? I say no. I don't think he would at all, but that's what teams are doing to get an influx of cash into the organization. Because, yes, let's say it. The Cowboys are worth, they say, Forbes says $10 billion. That doesn't mean Jerry Jones has $10 billion unless he sells the team, right?
Yeah.
He has what he has. And it's the same. We've talked about this with Ray Davis. Yes, the team's worth $2 billion.
It's probably worth more than that. I'd say 3 to 4 now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But that's not necessarily money he is flush with. Not necessarily money that's sort of in cash and liquid and available to him in that regard. So, all that said, they all still got plenty of money to take care of their bills, right? We don't have to worry about any of them. And as you've learned, I mean, Tom Hicks's teams, all three of them, Liverpool, the Stars, and the Rangers, went bankrupt. And he just moved out to his house in La Jolla, California, and lived on the beach, for the duration. So,
right. I mean, it's some guys just borrow money and then borrow to pay that money back, and it's a bad cycle, and you end up getting in trouble. Ray Davis doesn't seem to be doing that.
No.
Now, and of course, he was one of several owners at the time, but he was the biggest one. He and Bob Simpson. People think Nolan Ryan owned a lot of the club. He didn't. Charlie Pride didn't own a lot of the club. Chuck Greenberg didn't own very much of the team. So you had those two guys, and then they started swallowing up the smaller owners, and then Ray had to swallow up some of Bob because Bob had a messy divorce. So I mean, Ray has a huge chunk. Neil Lehman probably has the second biggest chunk behind, and then Bob, I think, still has he has enough to have a field suite. So it's not like he's out in the bleachers in center field.
Yeah.
Anyway, when the sale does come down, I don't know how it would happen. I don't because Neil Lehman does not have the financial wherewithal, while very wealthy, to buy out Bob Simpson. And so, or not Bob Simpson,
not
Ray Davis. Ray Davis is what I meant.
Yeah.
And so I think that when the time comes, there will be a lot of interested buyers, and you hope that some of them are local. I had plans, like if Evaldi hadn't re-signed and the Rangers said we don't have enough money to do it, I was going to say, well, the Rangers need to sell then. The ownership needs to sell. If they don't have the money to put a competitive product on the field, they need to sell. And so I was trying to think, well, who would be a good buyer? Who with Texas roots and all this stuff. I was like, well, how about, would Mark Cuban want to get back into it? Because he tried to buy him the first time. What about Michael Dell down there in Austin?
Yeah.
And what about Elon Musk? Because he's moved to Texas, moved the Tesla headquarters to Texas and everything.
He's busy now.
Yeah, he is busy, but that can't last forever. So, but then what kind of owner would he be? He's into efficiency. He's cut the Twitter staff and cut the going through the government, and so would he start cutting players and stuff? So I don't know if
we don't need 25 on the roster.
We can get away with 20.
Yeah.
Hey, let's watch out for who. Be careful who you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for. That's exactly right. So anyway, it's I have also heard that there is talk from high placed sources in the Rangers organization that if Ray ever does, just die and still owns the team, his daughter takes over.
Okay.
And the thought there is she's a very successful business person in her own right. She owns a restaurant. And I mean, again, that's way different than major corporations and teams, but she's obviously got some pretty good genes.
Yeah.
And plenty of money. You know, especially if obviously she's in the will, you know. So anyway, that's one thought. But I've heard from the very beginning of this group purchasing the team, for the first probably 10 years, they're selling. Oh, they're selling.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just building a new ballpark to sell. Oh, they're just doing that to sell. Everything they're doing was just to sell. And I heard it from people who I really thought would know. And obviously it's never come true.
Yeah.
Not yet, anyway.
Yeah, you know, and then, you know, you keep thinking about, well, who else? Well, Ann Walton lives in Weatherford.
Oh, good point.
Now she's big into the horses and quarter horses and all that stuff, but the Walton family definitely dabbles in professional sports franchises.
Yep.
You know, Stan Kroenke is married wisely, and bought the Nuggets and
isn't there
the Rams?
Is there Walmart money in the Thunder too? I think.
Okay,
I think it's another Walmart spouse.
There's somewhere else that it recently happened. Maybe the Broncos. Shit, I don't know.
I think it is the Broncos.
So I mean, there's some good Walmart money out there, and
they need a baseball team.
They need a baseball team.
Damn right.
They need to complete the trifecta. They probably own a hockey team, or a trifecta, but they probably own a hockey team somewhere.
They got to, at least a minor league.
You can
team.
pick those up for like $500 million.
That's chump change.
Yeah.
All right. Finally, Tony Tuesday on this Tuesday. There you go. Let the glory of the Lord rise among us today. Everything that you need and desire, let God be your peace. Even if you are in a troublesome situation, just know that trouble doesn't last always. Keep the faith. Hold on. Your breakthrough is coming. Win your day, Tony Tuesdays. I like it when the season starts because, man, Tony gets on those. During the offseason, there'd be plenty of times we'd be in here and we hadn't seen the Tony Tuesday yet, and we'd maybe run it on Wednesday But anyway, Tony, thank you for your inspiration, for your work, for your coaching, for your love. And that's Tony Tuesday. We appreciate him.
Yep.
We appreciate you. And we're going to be back again tomorrow. All this week, we're going to be here. In fact, we're securing guests. It looks like Thursday and Monday, at very least, we're going to have guests in here, and you're going to like them. And we'll let you know more about that in the days ahead. But hang out with us every day. Have lunch with us. It's the DLLS Rangers Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.